Should you invest into a flat or a house? So I've seen a lot of questions online getting asked about whether you should invest in a house or a flat for your property. Take it away. Which one should you invest in, and why?
Well, there's pros and cons for both, really. If you look at flats, the pros will be usually the location, mainly central. Lower price for flats, obviously compared to houses. Security. So it's more secure for people who rent. You got more break-ins in houses than flats. Demand in the market. People who want to rent are usually young professionals who want to sort of live in places either close to work or central or whatever it is. So the demand for flats is a little bit higher. And then obviously you've got cons. In pros, well, there's one thing that is both a pro and a con, and that's communal areas and service charge. The pro is that obviously you're not maintaining anything. You just pay a service charge and everything gets looked after. If there's a concierge, then that's again good for tenants. Getting the packages and stuff like that. And then the con side of it is you're paying a service charge.
Yeah.
So looking at the more cons from the flats, obviously you've got service charge to pay more often than not. Well, you got ground rent, but there's plans to obviously get rid of that in the near future. So you've got ground rent, service charge, and obviously it's a leasehold rather than freehold. Given obviously it's usually over 100 years, but it's a little bit of a sticking point sometimes. And then depending on where it is, what city and what location, sometimes lenders rather lend on a house than a flat for issues such as flats usually are above a commercial. Depending on the nature of the business in that commercial, you might struggle to get a mortgage. There's also since the Grenfell incident, the EWS1 is a big factor. So the external fire assessment of the building and how it's being done, that could be a factor in obviously borrowing money against it and affecting the resale of the flats. So there's pros and cons for both. With regards to the house, it's the complete opposite. So pros are obviously it's freehold. You can do with it what you want. Whereas again with flats, if you wanted to alter it and add value, you have to go and get permission from the freeholder, and there's obviously cost associated with that. Whereas with the house, you can do whatever you want with it, add value. It's freehold rather than leasehold more often than not. And the tenants that you do attract to the houses are mainly families rather than young people and young professional or students. So you could say you got a better tenant in, but again that depends on you could have a young professional who is a better tenant than a family. So
with a kid that runs on
exactly.
and ruins a house.
Yeah. So I mean, there's pros and cons, and like I said, the main factor with the house is getting equity out and resale and mortgageability, which on a house is it's more secure for the lenders basically, and obviously there's no service charge to pay. So yeah, there's pros and cons in both. Going back to your question, which one is better to invest in? It depends on what you are trying to achieve. really. If you got more money to buy a house and rent out, could go for a house, but then again, like I said, the demand for flats because of where they're usually located and stuff, could be higher. Again, with flats, a lot of the stuff you don't really deal with. You know, if there's plumbing issues with the building or whatever, that's covered on the service charge most of the time. Whereas with the house, it'll be you who would be looking after it. If I had to pick one, I'd say if you're an armchair investor who just wants a guaranteed income, doesn't want any headaches or anything like that, just wants to put the money and get a return, go for a flat. If you are building your portfolio and you are
A bit of a hands-on landlord kind of thing.
well, you don't have to be hands-on. You can hire
Not hands-on in terms of like doing everything yourself, but like being more involved in the property.
Yeah. Then again, if you're going for a house, you want to make sure it's in a rentally strong sort of area. You know, if you go and buy a £400,000-500,000 house in Liverpool and try and rent it out, the market for that is low because most of the people who can afford to pay your rent can afford to sort of buy a house that. So, you know, that sort of sways it towards flats a little bit. So, you know, you can take away from this video whatever you want and make your own decision depending on how you want to build your portfolio.
So essentially what you're saying is do your research, look at how much money you've got to spend. If you've got 400-500 grand, for example, let's just say, and you're looking to invest that, either go for flats or go for like a couple of houses, smaller houses, but in areas that you can easily rent out. For example, student areas or family-friendly areas that have got schools where families can't afford to actually buy their own house, but they can afford your rent. So there you go, guys. There were the pros and the cons for investing in both flats and houses in the UK. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give us a like. And if you've got any questions, comment it down below. Now, if you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe to our channel to see all our other videos. And if you don't already, make sure you follow us on our social media, which will be linked in the description below. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.